Our baccalaureate service is held to commemorate you, our graduates. Graduation from college represents the pinnacle of a young person's academic achievement, and we take this time to celebrate that in a religious way and to treat that accomplishment with great hope, admiration, and enthusiasm. Amidst all the music, the parties, the photographs, and everything, we pause to inspire and affirm your personhood, your intellect, and your imagination about what you choose to become and what lies ahead for you. With those thoughts in mind, in obtaining a speaker for this special occasion, we reached back to select one of our own, Dr. Gregory S. Gray, who has served as Dean of the Chapel and University Professor of Religion and Society at Tuskegee University since 1999. Dr. Gray is regularly called upon to serve as keynote speaker or master of ceremonies for both religious and civic activities. He serves as chair of the Tuskegee University Convocations and Special Events Committee, and he also serves as a member of the Council of Deans. Now, those of you who have attended chapel know that Dr. Gray has delivered his sermons to whomever comes, whether it's 3, 33, 43, or more. Today, we have given him a forum to address a much broader and captive audience. Dr. Gray is an excellent orator who always delivers powerful messages that entertain, educate, and help about any topic that he chooses. So I know he will be no different today as we celebrate this 2018 Baccalaureate service. As Dean of the Chapel, Dr. Gray is devoted to enriching the spiritual life of Tuskegee University through 5 areas of concentration: the weekly all-university worship service, religious instruction, pastoral care and counseling, administration of the chapel facility and staff, and outreach in the community. He is also a member of the Macon County Ministerial Council and provides a liaison to faith-based organizations in the greater Tuskegee community. He also provides support to the director of the Westland Foundation assigned to the Tuskegee University campus and provides pulpit supply for Westminster Presbyterian Church. I have known Dr. Gray for almost 20 years, and for me, he epitomizes servant leadership as he ministers to his parishioners, staff, and students. Dr. Gray is married to Linda Gray, who serves as student loan manager here on our campus, and he has 2 children and 1 grandson. Please join me as we welcome back to his podium Dr. Gregory S. Gray, Dean of the Chapel.
Good morning, and welcome to each of you and all of you who should be appropriately acknowledged on this occasion. I would like for my spouse, my wife, Mrs. Linda Diane Foster Gray, to stand, please. Let us join for a few moments in consideration of the topic, the courage to care. The courage to care. The anthropologist Margaret Mead once said, "Never believe that a few caring people can't change the world." I like that. A few caring people can't change the world, for indeed, that's all who ever have. How many advances have been made on this earth? How many potential fatal diseases have been cured? How many international tensions and conflicts have been resolved diplomatically? How many genuine possibilities for good have been created because of a few caring people? Because a few daring souls had the courage to care. Tomorrow, we will look at a list of graduates printed in our commencement program. We will see their names and colleges and schools and degrees and majors and hometowns. But I wish that space would allow for one more thing. I wish it would allow what they care about most in life to also be included in your commencement program. Not necessarily what you know the most about. And to our prospective graduates, I pray that you are able to tell someone that you made it through Tuskegee University because in addition to the care that was shown by your families, your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your aunts, your uncles, your grandmothers, your grandfathers, other relatives and friends back home, but that you can also say that it was the care of some faculty member, some department chair, some academic dean, some higher administrator, some staff member, some alumnus, someone else who cared enough to encourage you, inspire you, motivate you, pray for you, so that you would take responsibility for your own life and fulfill the requirements of your degree so that you could graduate and get on up out of here. I pray that because somebody went out of their way to care about you, that your life will also represent one going out of his or her way to care about someone else. So keep care in your character. This year we observe the 50th anniversary of the death of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. It is noteworthy that the city of Montgomery, Alabama has finally, that's right, finally commissioned someone to create a statue of Dr. Martin Luther King. And that someone is a member of the Tuskegee University faculty, Department of Fine and Performing Arts, Mr. Ronald McDowell. Are you with us this morning, Mr. McDowell? He said to me, Dean Gray, if I'm not with you, I'm somewhere working on that statue. A quotation from Dr. King visibly on display in my office reads, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Life's most persistent, urgent question, what are you doing for others? Dr. King knew as well as anyone, it takes courage to care. It takes courage for a number of reasons. Among them, care is not always appreciated by those to whom it is given. Can the church say amen? Care is not always appreciated by those to whom it is given. It is hard to care about people also who don't seem to care about themselves. It's hard to care about people who seem to care only about themselves. Care does not always accomplish what it was intended to accomplish. It takes courage to care. You may not always have the resources you need to be effective as you would like to be. Caring can mean being in the minority of two or three. We may not want to care unless we receive something back in return. Caring offers no promises of great wealth, fame, power, or popularity. Caring involves an element of risk-taking and our vulnerability to frustration and futility and what the world would call failure. And besides all of that, it takes courage to care, because you may not simply care like caring. For these reasons, and perhaps dozens of others, it takes courage to care. For many people, genuine caring does not come naturally. It must be nurtured and cultivated. It must be nurtured and cultivated. Don't tell someone you care about them if you don't even respect them. When they're not present, or even when they are present, you don't act concerned about them. You don't demonstrate any responsibility toward them. You make no effort to get to know them. You see them as somebody for you just to walk all over, or treat any old kind of way, or talk to any old kind of way. That's not care. You see, what I'm attempting to do is offer you a word of caution. In the ideal world, we can care a great deal about things that are absolutely worthless. Everything is not equally worthy of caring about. Hence, it becomes crucial and critical and conscientiously important that we examine the values and the priorities of our contemporary culture. I'll repeat that. We must evaluate the values and the priorities of our contemporary culture. Tuskegee University was awarded a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities to support a multidisciplinary African American Studies program coordinated by Dr. Carla Jackson Bell. There she is. Won't you stand, Dr. Bell? Let's see who you are. We also know that she serves as Dean of our School of Architecture and Construction Science Management. And a possible benefit of that African American Studies program, a possible benefit, an intended learning outcome, is not merely to memorize names and places and dates and events, or determine in what ways this subject matter in one field may influence the subject matter in another field. But such study, such multidisciplinary study, and I would say interdisciplinary study, enables us to determine what values and priorities are worth caring about for us as a kindred people. In some ways, the news media has failed the American public with its fake news, pseudo-news, quasi-news, or no news at all. A grossly disproportionate amount of news reporting seems to focus on one issue, and always with the name of one individual at the center of the story. And I vowed that I would not mention that name in this address. Surely somebody among us has come to care about other things that are happening in this world than those that are being reported upon 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Years ago, when I was working on a chapter of my dissertation, one of my committee members, the late Dr. Ivan Karp, asked me, "How are things going, Greg?" I remember saying, "My concern is that I have put countless hours of research and reading and writing into this dissertation thing, and wondering if upon completion the world will ask, who cares?" Professor Karp's response was simply, "You do." I have remembered those words for years, as long as you care and believe it can make a difference in the world for good, never devalue your own contribution, what you have to offer, what you have to say, to speak in your own voice and recognize the value of your contribution. As long as you care and believe that based upon rational evidence, not wishful thinking, but the rational and empirical evidence that life can be made more livable, then don't allow anyone or anybody to stand in the way. Don't allow anyone to prevent you from rising to the occasion, to stop you from going the distance, to keep you from seizing the opportunity which you were destined to have. I want to visit the National Memorial for Peace and Justice and the Legacy Museum, which recently opened in Montgomery, Alabama. I won't comment on it today because I've not yet had the opportunity or taken the opportunity to visit. But supposedly it focuses upon reconciling our past of racial inequality. But when I think about this memorial and the African American Museum, part of the Smithsonian in Washington, and the King Memorial on the Washington Mall, and the newly commissioned statue of Dr. King in Montgomery, I care not only about victimization, but I also care about complicity. The ways in which we have been and continue to be willing accomplices in our own demise. I am not suggesting that victimization is unimportant. I'm suggesting that victimization is always in a dialogical relationship with our own complicity. Is it all just what somebody else is doing to us? Or is it to some extent what we are allowing other people to do to us? Menticide can be so insidious, it can take the most derogatory stereotypes that have ever been applied to your racial, ethnic, gender, age, national group, incorporate them into something that you will identify with, like some varieties of rap, and have you relating to those derogatory stereotypes like they're some kind of role model. You become, in terms of your identity, you become a shadow of a shadow. Is this too deep for this occasion? Don't come to the dean of the chapel at Tuskegee University expecting a lightweight. This can result in an ongoing identity crisis, from colored to Negro to black to Afro-American, African-American, and you still don't know who you are. We're talking about self-deception, self-contradiction, self-sabotage, self-alienation, self-destruction. Those are the things that menticide are made of. This is why some person never finished the 8th grade, knew about as much as what I just said about menticide. She put it this way. She said, be who you is. Because if you ain't who you is, then you is who you ain't. We can so internalize the forces of political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation that in order to be enlightened and emancipated, enlightened, and emancipated from our own dysfunctionality, we must first remove the chains from around our own brains. You can't just deal with the external facade, the surface appearances, which are designed to distort reality. You must deal with the internal infrastructure of your own mind and culture. I disagree, my historian colleagues, with that quotation that is sometimes attributed to Marcus Garvey, the black nationalist, and sometimes attributed to the philosopher George Santayana, that if you don't know your history, you are destined to repeat it. I disagree with that quotation for the following reason. Some people are so oblivious to their own human condition that you can take a list of human atrocities and stamp it to their foreheads, and they'll still repeat it over again. Individuals may experience amnesia, but entire groups can also experience social amnesia, and it may be passed on from one generation to the next. Just as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, may be transmitted from one generation to another, likewise social amnesia, with one important qualification: how do you forget what you've never truly known? If you've never truly known who you are, and that very amnesia is transmitted from generation to generation, how can you forget the unknown? It's like we've all been invited to a masquerade party, but afraid to step in front of the mirror, because if we remove our mask and our costume, we'll find nobody there. Someone has said, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. I'll never be well adjusted to any society that reduces persons to property, that makes profit more important than persons, that makes competition more important than cooperation. I will never be well adjusted to any society that despises the poor, that ignores the hungry, that humiliates the downtrodden, that ignores the disparities in quality health care, that accepts corruption in government, and that endorses hatred and bigotry. I would rather be considered maladjusted than to be comfortable with the abuses of power, abject poverty, violent aggression being sensationalized, glamorized, idealized, and idolized the way it is in America, and people being treated like anything other than human beings. Yes, in an ideal world, the lesson on the courage to care, what to care about, how to care, would begin in the home. And in that ideal home setting, we would learn the distinctions between apathy, that is no care at all, sympathy, caring from the outside looking in, and empathy, trying to step on the inside of the person and look out. But some families are so dysfunctional, messed up, warped, incapacitated, they do not provide an adequate model of how to care for another human being. It makes a difference when children can feel that they are genuinely cared for, and the caregiver is not just going through the motions for the sake of a government check. A valuable service that mature faith can offer. I said mature faith. And in the Western world, that could be mature Jewish faith, it could be mature Christian faith, it could be mature Muslim faith. But a valuable service that mature faith communities can provide is to offer a transformative, conscientious, compassionate, cosmopolitan perspective on reality, a perspective on humanity, to function by recognizing the faulty uses of culture and not just empty religiosity that distorts reality, full of wishful thinking, nothing but a projection of our own selves, and in some instances, an opiate, a drug to get high on Jesus, Moses, or Muhammad. If you enter a worship service, be it on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and leave that service just as messed up as you were when you entered it, then what is the point? Is there more silliness or holiness in our places of worship? If someone should ask you, how do you maintain your courage to care? Tell them you believe there is one who created all nations of one blood to coexist upon this earth in peace. For the Christian, this would be the same one who said in Matthew, the 25th chapter, verses 35 through 40, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go and visit you?" And the king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these, brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Healthy, mature spirituality teaches me to care for what God cares for, to value what God values, to prioritize what God prioritizes. A personal, caring relationship between the worshiper and the master caregiver enables even me to say, in the words of the father of gospel music, Thomas Dorsey, "Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me on." And there are some things I will care about for as long as I have breath in my body. I will never stop caring about the quality of life for all human beings. I will never stop caring about the resolution of international conflict and the possibilities for democratic world peace. I will never stop caring about global warming on this planet and the climate changes that we've already begun to observe, and the ecological effects on our soil, our air, and our water. And these things about which I care will not change over the mere passage of time. They will not change with what is popular with the crowd. They will not change based upon what is convenient or expedient. I refuse not to care for the dispossessed, the disenfranchised, the marginalized, the ostracized, the stigmatized, and the demonized. I refuse not to be an advocate for those who suffer from mental illness, for abandoned children, for young women on the run, for people of color still enduring the indignities of a racialized world, for impoverished people for whom health care is a privilege rather than a right. I will always be an advocate for world peace and social justice and fighting poverty and fighting hunger. One of the definitions of the word cosmopolitan is the idea that all humanity belongs to a single moral community. All humanity belongs to a single moral community. It's very telling, I think, that a year before his assassination, Martin King stood in the pulpit of the Riverside Church in the city of New York, where he not only denounced certain U.S. domestic policies, which he believed to be unjust, but he also denounced certain U.S. foreign policy as well, specifically the Vietnam War. King's understanding of conscientious, compassionate caring was also cosmopolitan, not limited to the U.S. or the Western Hemisphere. Cosmopolitan, the idea that all of humanity belongs to a single moral community. One of my favorite Norman Rockwell paintings is based upon the Golden Rule. And that Norman Rockwell painting is entitled Do Unto Others. It shows persons of different nationalities, different ages, different ethnicities, different genders, different races, and even different religions standing together as one. It would be accurate to say standing as a single moral community, cosmopolitan. It's not all about global competition. It includes global competition, but it's not limited to competition. It includes, however, global citizenship. Can you and I imagine a world for even one moment in which we put all national flags in a closet and said that we were all simply one people? And some of you just said, no way. Not only as a nation, but as a planet, we share a destiny. We share a destiny with people whose names you may never know, whose faces you may never see, whose voices you will never hear, whose hands you will never hold. We all share a common human destiny. And healthy spirituality must offer more than doctrines to recite and rituals to perform. A healthy spirituality offers a perspective on the self, myself and yourselves, a perspective on others, other people in the sanctuary and other people on this planet. It's a way of being in the world, a way of being with others, being for others, a single moral community. Some of us are familiar with the organization CARE, that international organization that engaged itself in humanitarian actions on behalf of others. Having the courage to care is to think of our lives as a care package. That's right. Each of your lives, and my life is a care package to others. Be a care package. What will you do with what you have been given? I dare you, as I come to the close of my comments, I dare you to surprise some people, graduates, who will only expect you to care about yourself. I dare you to surprise some people who would not expect you to care about others and the disadvantaged and the disinherited. I dare you to be like a Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, a Moses of her people who would not simply enjoy her own newfound freedom, but knew that somebody had to go back and provide opportunities for others. And when you go back, if you truly care about them, don't give them mixed messages. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Tell them that there is a need to transform this entire culture, politically, economically, socially, educationally, scientifically, technologically, in the arts, sports, entertainment, last but not least, even in the area of religion. Tell them that one of the oldest strategies of the enemy is to divide and conquer. Tell them that many things in life still require hard work, knowledge and skill, structure and discipline. Tell them that their maturity, their growth and development as an individual person is reflected in how broadly they express concern for the plight of humanity. Tell them that to whom much is given, much is required, and that the race is not given unto the swift, but to they that endure to the end. Tell them that your best friend and your worst enemy are inside of you. That quality is just as important as quantity, because you can have a whole lot of nothing. And avoid envious people who do not know how to appreciate what others have to offer, but may be more interested in spoiling what others have. That they have an appointment with destiny. Now is their time. Now is their moment. Now is their season. Tell them that tomorrow is promised to no one. And don't let anybody persuade them to give up on themselves. And don't you let anyone persuade you to give up on you. You have too much to be grateful for. Tell them that it's one thing to consult your psychic hotline, your horoscope, your palm reader, your tarot cards, your Ouija board, your fortune teller, and your crystal ball. But for the courage to care, it's another thing to consult the one, my faculty colleagues, consult the one who put the universe in astronomy, who put matter and motion in physics, who put time in history, who put the elements in chemistry, who put life in biology, who put quantification and number in mathematics, who put the mind in psychology, who put society in sociology, who put culture in anthropology, who put ideas in philosophy, who put government in political science, who put communication in language, who put design in architecture, who put creative skill and imagination in the arts, who put healing in healthcare, who put morality in ethics and then turned around and put ethics in morality. Never believe that a few caring people can't change the world, for indeed that's all who ever have. Amen.